Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Game News for Thursday!
Hey, that's right, it's Thursday, and the reviews are in for Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, which releases tomorrow. And it looks like we've got another early contender for Game of the Year.
Whoa, wait up. A new single-player IP that's not a looter shooter or a battle royale game or a sequel? They still make those?
They do! Well, From Software does.
It's early, but Sekiro could be one of the best reviewed games of 2019, and another home run for, I'm not gonna say his name.
Lawrence can say it.
Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Look, you can say it two ways. Sekiro or Sekiro? Sekiro. Do you see the color of my skin?
Miyazaki made the Soulsborne game.
Of course we know, yeah.
It's a new IP, it's getting great reviews, so let's dive in, let's do it.
So currently it's got a 89 on Metacritic, but tell us more, Lawrence.
It's got a 92 on OpenCritic.
Cool!
What's the difference between Metacritic and OpenCritic?
I was just wondering that.
Oh, okay, I thought you'd know.
So Metacritic actually has pretty high admission standards.
It does.
It's a little hoity-toity. OpenCritic, I think, is probably, they accept a lot more.
Got it.
But yeah, that puts it near the top of this year's big releases. Apex Legends, free game, sitting at 89. Weird that it would have a review, but whatever. Devil May Cry 5 is at 87. Kingdom Hearts 3 got an 84. Division 2 got an 81. And Anthem got a swift kick in the dick.
Still though, the Resident Evil 2 remake is on top by some measures. It's got the Xbox One version sitting at 93.
93!
But then again, it is a remake of a really good game.
Sekiro is also another feather in the cap of From Software. Right now it's behind only Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 as the best reviewed game ever from the developer, which is weird, because Dark Souls 2 is widely considered the black sheep of the bunch, right, Lawrence?
The levels are bad. Enemies, bad.
Lawrence, give us a little background on Sekiro.
So yeah, this is set in 16th century Japan. You play as a shinobi called the Wolf, who has been nearly killed and your arm's been chopped off.
Just like Call of Duty.
Just like Devil May Cry 5. Yeah, Call of Duty. That's what I was gonna say. That's a cooler game.
This is the year of getting your arm cut off.
But don't worry, you got a handy prosthetic arm you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with. Also like Devil May Cry 5. This is weird.
And Call of Duty.
Oh, Call of Duty, yep. Advanced Warfare.
We can't talk about that one anymore.
Spacey. There's even a line where he looks at the camera and goes, I am not a monster.
Yeah.
Which was a good line.
Sure, a kid was
a little on the
underage.
nose. It's got all kinds of gadgetry, more like Sekiro, don't open the door, mom.
What?
Yep, it's masturbation jokes, Bruce, not getting caught jerking it as the Dark Souls of being 14 years old. As fitting for a Japanese shinobi game, the main bodily fluid involved in this game is blood, not the other one.
Come on.
Your master has been kidnapped by a clan of dickhead samurai and you go on a big ol' revenge quest like John Wick with a bone arm and a sword.
Cool.
Sweet. Of course, since this is a From Software game, lots of people have already been drawing comparisons to the Dark Souls series, as well as Bloodborne.
Yeah, and you'll see a lot of those influences in Sekiro, but they also drew inspiration from another franchise, the stealth game Tenchu.
Does anyone remember Tenchu?
I remember
somebody.
it, but didn't really play it.
It was like the only stealth game before Metal Gear Solid, so that's
yeah.
crazy. So while the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games involve you carefully making your way through corridors, you'll be zipping across rooftops in Sekiro, looking for a secluded spot where you and your prosthetic arm can finally be alone together.
That's like Lawrence's
Masturbation.
fantasy. Well, Sekiro definitely has the challenge level that you'd expect from the developer that made Bloodborne and Dark Souls. Combat's a bit different, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, as Polygon put it, quote, it's something new, something intriguing. My God, what a pinky out way to start a sentence. It's a brutal and definitive statement refuting the idea that From Software is a one-trick pony. I'm gonna say that's a little weird of a statement because this is the studio that also made a game where he plays the president in a mech suit, defending America from the vice president.
The combat in Sekiro is still based on timing, but there's no shields to block with. Like in Dark Souls, instead the focus is on parrying attacks and breaking your opponent's guard, or as the game calls it, their posture.
Yeah, once you've fully worn down your opponent's posture, you can use a finisher or a death blow to kill them, and it's awesome.
Reviewers noted that the combat is a lot faster paced than the block counter attack rhythm that you might be used to in other Miyazaki games.
VG247 said, quote, the enemy won't just attack once, the cadence of blows varies and sometimes comes in a deadly flurry, meaning you have to block 10 swift consecutive strikes and immediately be ready to launch a counterattack of your own.
Polygon called it a mix of defense, dodging, and careful but relentless attacking. You might need to lean heavy on your defense one fight and then go all aggro on the next bad guy.
Yeah, Lawrence, tell him about the prosthetic arm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to. We're very close, me and that prosthetic arm.
That's weird.
So that kind of sets Sekiro apart from a lot of its influences. Without that arm, you could probably say this is closer to a Souls game of just circle around somebody and stab them in the butt until they die. But one of its basic functions is the grappling hook, which kind of makes you like a, quote, shabby, grim, dark Spider-Man, according to Eurogamer.
Whoa.
Which is pretty cool. Grim Dark's not really a word you see anymore, at least since it fell out of favor with the...
What does that mean?
It came to describe like a series of games for a while where everything was like gritty and dark and dour. Gears of War aesthetic is called Grim Dark for a minute.
That was my handle on BattleNet back in the day.
That's a really good one.
No, it was brewed in the last 4 digits of my phone number.
But the arm can be used for a lot more than grappling. While your primary weapon is your katana, you can upgrade your arm to all sorts of things. Eurogamer's reviewer upgraded theirs to a shuriken launcher, a short-range flame cannon, and a pop-out axe that can be used to shatter shields.
But as always, the bosses are definitely the focus of the game, requiring a lot of study and patience to beat them, and there's no calling in a friend to help like that pussy of a game, Dark Souls.
Windows Central said Sekiro is, quote, definitely harder than Dark Souls. The sense of satisfaction you feel after defeating powerful titans is a reward in itself.
I remember actually Bloodborne did did that too, right? We can call it, I remember like Weed Bro 420 came and helped me defeat like the Dark Lord of Edge Snurf, and he's like, later puss, and like got out of there.
Deep lore, man.
Yeah.
Lawrence, tell about the world, actually.
So yeah, the world layout is going to be pretty familiar to a Soulsborne fan. There's no map and no compass. Instead of bonfires, you get checkpoints called sculptor idols. Essentially the same thing. You can rest there to restore your health and your respawn tokens. You can also teleport between them, so that's kind of how you get around the open world. IGN said you'll, quote, weave through the same excellently designed levels that snake, interconnect, and double back on themselves to reveal new shortcuts between the little bastions of safety to resupply. The levels are a little more directed this time. It doesn't just spider out from a central hub, but there is that same thing where you will like find a door that you can unlock to unlock a shortcut around to go back to a safe point and then continue progressing through the level. I whoopsied a couple of times already. Went to places I wasn't supposed to be, but I thought I was supposed to be there. Very tense evenings of shouting at my monitor.
Give it 3 months, a Twitch streamer will go to that area first and beat the game in an hour and a half. So. Did you see the guy? He just beat every game
Without getting hit?
Every Soulsborne game?
Every game.
Oh,
all
come
5
on.
games. And
Demon
he said
Souls
if he were to
Bloodborne?
take a single hit, he would restart all the way.
All the games?
Oh, I thought he did like each game individually. He did the whole run? Oh, dude.
They're like, well, he did have to take a break because he has like a crippling hand problem.
I wonder why.
All in all, most reviewers seem to like what they played, calling Sekiro a fun challenge with fast-paced combat mixed with From Software's usual grittiness.
Yeah, VG247 wrote, quote, it's From Software at its most confident and its most unapologetic. It's Bloodborne, but faster with fewer crutches, yet somehow more fair.
Destructoid wrote that it has a, quote, strong marriage of world building and sense of pride garnered from besting taxing conflicts.
Yeah, so Lawrence, looking on from afar, because I've only played a couple hours of each Soulsborne game, never really sat down and was like, I'm gonna play 10 hours of this. It looks exactly the same.
I can see that. Yeah, from the
So
outside.
what are the differences here between Sekiro and like Dark Souls and for somebody like me, a casual, a dirty, scummy casual
Yeah,
like me?
you're the worst.
Well, Soul's big defining feature is that you can build your character, so there's a whole breadth of ways you can approach the game to begin with. You can like make a shield and sword man, a magic man, a spear boy, a little ninja man that flips around. Bloodborne was a little more towards the Sekiro end of the spectrum, where it's like, okay, you have a smaller set of weapons and like gun counter mechanics. Sekiro is kind of over there, more like Metal Gear Rising or even Ninja Gaiden, where your tool set is fairly defined. Every player is going to have the same weapons and the same items. Now it's up to you about how you use those and your techniques to deal with the monsters that are thrown at you. In that way, it's almost kind of like Ninja Gaiden crossed with Punch-Out, where they'll telegraph attacks to you, and it's all about your pattern recognition and how well you can actually execute on them. It is kind of similar in the broadest strokes, but once you get in the weeds, it's pretty different.
Cool. Does having a dedicated jump button make a world of difference, or is it just kind of works with the world?
I mean, it does actually make a lot of difference. It's used in combat. The base mechanic is hit parry when people attack you, but there are like special attacks that you can't parry. You have to do a certain thing to them, so if it's like a sweep, you have to jump over it or jump away. So it's that kind of risk-reward mechanic where if you stay in there and try to like really mix it up, you can kill somebody quickly or die just as fast. With like Souls games, the goal is to just kill everything and not die. With Sekiro, I feel like there's a total difference of skill levels. If you play like a bitch, you can just like hit once and run away, but if you're super good at it, you just stay in there and you're like cling, cling, clanging around, parrying everything, dodging everything, and in 30 seconds you can wipe a boss if you know what you're doing.
That sounds to me kind of like For Honor a little bit. If you timed your attacks correctly or your defenses, then it rewarded you. The game rewarded, and it was like, now you can get in and like give the death blow. That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, that's a really good point of comparison. For Honor, you're playing against other humans, so there's that mind game going on.
Right.
Sekiro, you're playing against a computer that has been programmed to f you up. That's when they start playing mind games with you. They'll give you a pattern, and then once the enemy like gets a certain amount of health, they'll change the pattern. So they'll just do like 3 hits, and then it'll be 1, 2, and then a hit. And it just makes you want to huck your controller at the wall. But that's the game. You know, that's the kind of invisible dialogue that the developers have with you, the player. And
cool.
I think it's really fun.
So overall, it looks like From Software could have another hit on its hands, by its standards at least.
Yeah, if we look at its last 2 big releases, Bloodborne has sold about 3 million copies. Dark Souls 3 sold 3 million in its first few months of release.
Yeah, those might not be the big numbers by the standards of someone like EA, but for a smaller outfit like From Software, it's enough to keep the lights on and keep on making cool games.
Yeah, then again, Sekiro is being published by Activision, which is plenty big. That might seem like a weird fit, but it sounds like this is the video game equivalent of a big movie studio making a prestige film for the Oscars.
Yeah, do you think that's a big deal, Lawrence?
Not necessarily. Also, From Software is a lot bigger than I thought. They have almost 300 employees, so it's interesting. You wouldn't expect Activision to be picking up a Japanese-developed game that is set in Japan to release in the West. It doesn't seem like it's their wheelhouse, but there was an interview with Activision producer Robert Kroenke with GamesIndustry.biz last year. They said, quote, when From Software knocks on your door and says, hey, we want to make a game, you have only one answer, right?
Oh, okay.
It seems like they just respect the pedigree of the developer, and they're like, yeah, we want to help you out.
Your answer should be, does it involve the vice president or the president?
Or mech suit. Should have called that game Filibuster, I'm telling you.
I mean, honestly, there's not much of a difference between Wolf Metal Chaos and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Spacey. Just throwing that out there.
It's nice to see a studio doing what it does best, making quality games in its wheelhouse.
And from these reviews, it sounds like From Software has done it once again.
This is a positive insight.
Wow,
game.
hey.
Yes, we did it.
That's a positive.
Mention
insight.
Anthem only once.
Area that I played through was just kind of a, like you said, a peaceful Japanese village.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
it kind of
there's-
looks like people have been here like less than 2,000 years ago, whereas all the soul stuff is like
Oh, yeah.
so long abandoned.
It's like
Yeah.
a ruined civilization.
Yeah.
I did find some NPCs that sort of spoke in hushed whispers about things